Hey guys, welcome to a quick Throne and Liberty video about the weapon crafting system, trait system, and blessing system, along with some tips to get you started. This will also go over when you should switch from blue gear to purple gear. So let's get started. Alright, for this video I'm going to go ahead and use this pair of swirling essence shoes, which are the BIS shoes for my class that I am playing, which is Bowstaff. And I'm going to go over how you level these up properly, when you should transfer your blue item into your purple item, and how to get these traits unlocked. The first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and level up these boots. We don't want to level them all the way, however. So there's two trains of thought on the leveling process. The first is you just transfer your blue ones into the purple right away, and then you level up from there. The other one is you level your purple ones up most of the way, and then put your blues in. Doing it the second way will save you about 3 to 4% of the armor growth stones. On average, you'll need about 100 to get your purple gear to max level if you're slamming a blue into it. So real quick, let me level this up. All right. So what you want to do is get your purple gear to level 7, and you want at least 33%. This will guarantee that once we go to transfer, and real quick I need to take these boots off to demonstrate this. Once we go to transfer, click on our purple boots, you can now see that this will take us to level 9 and be completely done. The next thing that's incredibly important is that this blessing, transfer blessings here. You get this blessing from having traits on your blue gear that you transfer into your purple gear. That is why it's almost always going to be worth maxing out the traits on your blue gear, even if they aren't that good for you. As you can see, I shouldn't be using health regen. I should pick evasion or endurance, not both of them. I literally just bought the cheapest traits for these shoes to put onto them, and then max them out to get the maximum blessing. And that's to ensure that the maximum blessing here is as high as it can be, which is going to be vital to getting the traits onto our purple shoes here. The other thing of note is that it is not always worthwhile to put your purples on before they are traded. So as you can see with these blue shoes on, my gear score is 2,914. With the purple shoes on, yes, they're not max level yet. They're 2,886. But I'm also going to be losing out on a lot of traits. Like a Magic Evasion 120 is going to go down to Magic Evasion 40. I'll have no endurance and no health regen. Not that I'm actually looking for those on this piece of gear. For this video demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. So we're going to take our purples, we're going to go to the transfer tab, we're going to take our purple item, and we're going to take our blues. Now that they have max traits on them, and we've got our purple to level 7 and at least 33%, and we're going to transfer these blues into these purples, which is going to max out the level on our purple and give us 960 blessing. Now that blessing is incredibly important for transferring traits from blue items onto the purple items. You can see we have melee evasion on these swirling essence shoes. So I'm going to unlock my blue shoes that have melee evasion on them, which is just that pair. And when we go back to the trait system and we click on our purple shoes, I can click on this blue shoes to try and add this trait to the melee evasion. And you can see right now it's at 10%. If I click on this use blessing button, it's plus 90%, so 100% guarantee that this trait is going to go on to this purple one and make it a tier 2 trait. So let's go ahead and hit enchant. Guaranteed the trade is on there. It's now at 80, and I went down 450-ish blessing. I think it's 450 to 510, which means I can guarantee another trait transfer onto here with the blessing I already have. So blue items are still incredibly important, even once you're in purple gear, while you're still trying to trait out that purple gear. As you can see, I currently have a bunch of blue gear stored up so that I can trade out these boots here. Purple traits, if I was to take these two shoes, are guaranteed to transfer onto other purple items of the same type. So, for example, I can only put traits that are on boots onto other boots. I cannot put the magic evasion from these pants onto my swirling essence boots because they are not the same type of item. So unfortunately, I don't have any of these traits on my swirling essence. I don't have ranged evasion, and they can't get magic evasion. So these boots are going to be useless for me, but these boots I can still use. So the next step is getting all the right traits onto your gear. So we can come to the auction house here. And we're going to go to armor, feet, and we're going to go down and we're looking for our swirling essence shoes. We're going to click on these guys. I guess they can't get range evasion, and they can instead get magic evasion. So to put a trait on your gear, it has to be a trait from the exact same piece of gear. So if you want, in this case, swirling essence, if you want your swirling essence shoes to get new traits, you have to grab swirling essence shoe traits to put it on. My build can use either movement speed or maximum health, and then I need magic evasion. So as you can see, this is going to cost me 1,300 Lucent, which I have enough of. I could trade it out, but there is another trick that you can do for the free-to-play players like myself. Most of my Lucent is all of my Lucent is from buying and selling items on the auction house, getting drops and selling them on the auction house, which I will go over here in a moment. But the other trick that you can do as a free-to-play player who doesn't have Lucent like I do is you can click on one of these trait slots that you don't have unlocked yet and unlock trait selectively, choose the one you want, and all you need is these trait unlock stones to do it. You can get these in a number of ways. You can get them from those globes that you can open with the Mystic Globe keys. You can get them from fishing bags. You can get them from purple sacks, from doing abyssal contracts, or from buying them from the merchant contract. Or you can get them from the weekly missions that you do. If you do PvP arena, or sorry, not PvP arena. No matter what these are, there's another option to take trade unlock stones at the end of the week if none of this gear is good. I would almost never take that unless you're really, really desperate, because you can probably make more than enough Lucent to buy a trait off of one of these items and just selling it on the auction house by turning it into a lithograph or extracting the trait. So I did go over the fact that these shoes with ranged evasion are not viable for my shoes because they can't actually get that on there. So I don't need these anymore. So let's go ahead and go over my process of what I do when I get gear dropped that I do not need for anything. And I do this with blues as well as purples. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the auction house and look up these Heroic Boots of Resistance traits and look for my trait. So the trait on mine is worth 145 Lucent, which I think is just about worth doing. That's probably like right around my bottom limit is about 150. So I could take the trait off of them and sell it on the auction house pretty successfully. The other thing you can look at is if you go to lithograph in miscellaneous and we go to Boots of the Resistance, you can see that this lithograph is worth 500. Unless, and that is right at my limit for lithographs again. Because when you go to lithograph something, you need these precious blank lithographs and then whatever type of gear it is, armor, accessory, or weapons. And they're fairly expensive to craft at the trader here. They're fairly expensive to craft. Precious parchment is not hard to come by, pretty easy to get. Mana steel is a little bit harder. Polished crystals is really easy to get, and then the Stallone you have to be farming from Abyssal Dungeons. This enchanted ink you're on a very limited amount of each month. You can buy it from the Ornate Coin Store right here every month. You can buy 100 of them, which is enough to make 4 lithographs. And then also from I think there was another place to get it. Might be wrong. Was it the Battle Pass? So those lithographs are quite expensive to make and very limited to how many you get in a month. So I tend to be more restrictive with when I actually lithograph something, if it is enough. The other option is if you don't think the traits or the lithograph is worth selling on the auction house, last thing is to look for this little symbol, which means that you need it for your lithograph book, and you could add it here, which you can get unlock stones from this as well. In this case, though, I think I'm going to go ahead and extract the trait, which is this button right here. This is the lithograph button, but we're going to, in this case, we're going to go ahead and extract the trait from these because I think it's just enough to make it worthwhile. And we're going to go back to the auction house, click on sell, click on these. You can see that the average price is 160. The current lowest price is 145. So I'm going to go ahead and undercut by 5 and put them up for 140. And hopefully that sells and boosts my Lucent a little more, making it easier to buy traits in the future if I need them. So I was lucky enough while crafting my gear to level 9 that I did not need to use up all of my armor growth stones. So I'm going to show you a little trick that you can do if you're very desperate, and it can also be useful for trading out your weapons. Here at the Guild Merchant, you can buy these rare special weapon selection chests for 280 guild points, which is not too difficult to get in a day. And you can buy an unlimited amount of them. We're going to go ahead and use it. If you're trying to put traits on a weapon, it actually doesn't matter which weapon you take. The only thing I suggest is looking at each weapon, each of these golem weapons, and making sure it actually rolls the trait that you're trying to put onto your purple gear. In this case, I don't care about it. I'm showing you the other use for them. So the other use for these is to go ahead, once you buy it, and just dissolve it right away into magic powder. Once you have the magic powder, you head over to any crafter, turn that magic powder into precious magic powder, and then turn that precious magic powder, Stallone ore, and precious polished crystals into more growth stones for weapons, armor, or accessories, whatever you need. And that is how you get those extra little growth stones when you are desperately in need of them, and you're just a few short. That is what I would recommend doing. I wouldn't do it for all of your growth stones, just when you're missing out on just a few from leveling up a gear to max level. So, for the purposes of this video, and to show you how to properly get all the traits on your gear, I am going to go ahead and bite the bullet and buy these very expensive traits to get all 3 of the correct traits onto my pair of Swirling Essence shoes. So you can see what it's like to have all the correct traits on the gear. I do not have the money to max out the traits most likely, but we'll go over that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the movement speed here. So we're going to go ahead and unlock both of these traits on our boots. And you can see that I've got 2 more boots here that I need to unlock. So we can put them onto our gear here. So this purple one, like I said, is 100% guaranteed to transfer over. We're just going to do that one quick. And then this blue one has a 10% chance, but I've got enough blessing that if I click on this use blessing, I can guarantee the transfer over. However, in this case, I'm not going to do it because I think movement speed are more expensive. Instead, I'm just going to try and go for the 10% chance. Fortunately, I didn't get it, but it did put more blessing onto this. So with enough blues fed into your purple, you can guarantee that the next blue will stick. And so this is the last part, which is maxing out all these traits. This is the last part I wanted to cover. When you go to max out all of your traits, there is 2 steps to do. Besides just getting gear randomly in the world from drops and making sure it's a trait that you need or want on your gear and saving it for later to try and put onto your gear, the other choice that you can do is you can come back to this auction house, click on the search criteria up here, click on rare, click on find trait, and we're going to check movement speed first. Click on movement speed, and we're clicking on rare first, and we're going to hit apply. And we can see that the average price is $29.30. We need 10 minimum to get a single trait to stick. So we're going to go with 30 times 10, so 300 Lucent to guarantee that 1 movement speed will stick onto our boots. So we're going to then come back here and instead click on Epic, click off the rare, hit apply, and we can see that movement speed on purples actually only costs 190. So there's no need for me to buy the blue ones because these are going to end up being cheaper, these purple ones. That being said, I already have enough Lucent to guarantee a stick. So I am going to buy at least 1 blue movement speed. Because I can go ahead, use my blessing, and guarantee that stick. And so instead of spending 150 for that 2% additional movement speed, I spent 29 Lucent. And that's what you want to do for each of these traits until they're all maxed out. If you don't have the Lucent, you're just going to have to wait for gear drops in the world. Most likely blue ones that will slowly feed into your purple, building up the blessing until you have 450 blessing before you can then guarantee your next blue one. If you have the Lucent, do it the way that I just showed on the auction house. But eventually you will get gear with 4 maxed out traits. That will be much, much stronger than the blue gear that you started with. And if we take a look, even though I don't have this fully traded out like I had my blue shoes traded out, my combat power is slightly higher than it was when I was wearing the blue ones. So overall, I've gained a little bit of power, and I've gained traits that I actually need instead of the junk ones that I put on to the boots to move them over. As you can see, my gloves and pants are also max traded, just waiting for me to get the item that I need to replace them. Now, when it comes to accessories, your necklace, bracelet, rings, and belt, I highly recommend using your trade unlock stones because these are insanely expensive on the auction house. The ring that I need to replace this blue ring is almost $500 US dollars, not Lucent. Even just getting the worst traits onto this ring, not even maxing them out, is nearly $100 in Lucent. So with accessories, it's a little harder to build up Blessing if you're not getting lucky with drops, because they are just so much more expensive than anything else because they drop away less than other gear pieces. But I think I've covered just about everything that you need to know for leveling up your blue gear to purple gear, when you should transfer your blue gear into your purple gear, how to properly trade out gear, and then how to max out those traits. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I hope this video was helpful to you. Thank you. Have a good one. Now, I got lucky and was able... Now, I got lucky and had enough arm...